My name is Leavy. This is our forest here outside Kinnegad, County Westmeath. My parents planted it 21 years ago now. It's just under 20 hectares. 2/3 of that is in Norway spruce, and then 1/3 is sycamore and ash with a little bit of beech and a bit of birch scattered around. And we've done a bit of underplanting very recently. We've put in some western red cedar and some oak, and we'll be putting in more oak now in the next year or two when we clear the ash because of ash dieback. I manage this forest under the principles of CCF, which is continuous cover forestry, and that means there'll always be cover here, there'll always be trees here. And the reason I kind of went down that road was, well, particularly financial. You know, that means that I'm going to have income, continuous income year on year, or like every few years that we do the thinnings, as opposed to getting, you know, a lump sum in 20 years time and then nothing for another 20 years. And then I don't have the issues of having to replant and pine weevil and all this other things that can come along with the Clearfell model. But there was also kind of the issue of legacy, being able to pass over a fully mature wood or almost mature woodland to the next generation. I've done a lot of the management of the broadleaves myself. As I got older, Dad did all the pruning and shaping when the trees were younger. And then I took over about 5 years ago managing the place myself. So I actually do a lot of the tree felling, and I have a firewood business that I use the hardwoods in that. But basically what's involved is doing thinning. So you go in and you look at kind of your better trees, and then you take out trees around that to open up the crown, to allow the crown to develop so the tree then can put on weight. Give that then the space to grow. That's the idea. We need change in Ireland on how we address planting and the early supports that are in place. Like, we need better supports, particularly for planting the broadleaves. We need premiums that extend beyond 15 years. We need to make big changes on how we're managing forestry and regulating forestry in this country. But as an enterprise, I mean, it's the best thing my parents ever did was plant this forest. And anyone I know who has forestry absolutely loves it and is very, very proud and really have no regrets about planting the trees. It's just we need to sort out the regulation. Like, if you look at the way it's done in Europe, you know, every farm has a bit of forestry, and that then feeds, you know, heats the house and all that kind of stuff. And it's, you know, a regular income as well. There's longevity to it, which I really like as well. You know, you're putting down, you're doing something for the next generation. You know, the way when we look at the price of other commodities and the way that's going, I think there will always be value in timber. There's something quite magical about walking through a wood. Every time I come up here, I see something new. My heart rate slows down. The air is completely different in here, and especially when you're in under the conifers, the air in there and the smells, I think, are just incredible. There's a sense of freedom. I lived in London for years, and then coming back and living this lifestyle, there's just something very, very special. I'm very privileged to be able to do that.